236. 236, Kateline. What is the significance of that number?
236 times that someone mentioned a struggle.
No, I would believe that. It's actually the number of days since MurphDog hosted an episode of Dateline. March 15th of 2024. Deadly Swap. The one with the lady with the drop of the mic and being like, when you're done with your thing, come get me.
Well, like I said, when you get your little blood and whatever you're going to find in the truck, let me know. Until then.
It's been since last March, Kate. What are we thinking here? What's going on? That's a long time.
I really hope it's just the way the schedule has worked out, and it's not that he's leaving or that there's something wrong. But then I think about that photo shoot from a couple months ago.
Right, but he doesn't have a pod, right? I mean, that was their point.
Yeah, that's true.
But he hasn't even been on Talking Dateline. And like the one he was featured on, the AC one, that was from a year and a half ago.
Right.
So all I'm saying is we've now got a board here in the Kurt Cave in ILH HQ. It has been 236 days since our last MurphDog sighting. Now, I hope one day I erase that and put 0 because he's hosting a current one.
It's nice to have a buddy.
But I've got a quick fix for us now, how to get some MurphDog in our lives, and that's to do it from the vault. You ready to do this, Kateline?
Let's do it.
I'm Lester Holt.
Howdy, Holdheads. Kurt Money here, alongside my co-host,
Kateline.
And we are here not to discuss the newest episode of Dateline, because why are we not going to do the newest one, Kate? I think we got a pretty solid reason.
The newest episode is a Menendez brothers recap, and we decided that we're not going to do the big ones like that because they are overexposed. Everybody knows them. No one's going to care what our opinions are. So we skipped the Murdoch murders last season.
Yep.
And the Golden State Killer, I think, too.
Oh, I think we did skip one of those. You know what it is I feel like this Menendez one is a great example of how Dateline feels obligated to get in on a true crime craze in any way they can. Like, if you remember Making a Murderer's blowing up, we're all loving it. We're all talking about it. Dateline does their episode where they talk about the whole case kind of thing. So they're like, we have an episode on this now too. What do you think?
Right.
There's a doc out now, Menendez Brothers. There's 2 series that were about them. So I just think they feel obligated to get in on it because they don't have new info.
No.
Right?
It's just trending. Yeah. I guess the new info they had is what the other stuff has too, that they may be let out or not. Like, that's right. That was I mean, I watched it because I am a Dateline completist. Yeah. I just don't need to talk about it.
Did you watch it? I don't watch it.
Yeah, I did.
And we'll just say here, everybody's talking about their release, and our biggest question is, why does the Victor Paleologos rule not apply here?
Now, what happens in 2022? The prisons are getting overcrowded. California's got a new approach to incarceration, as Keith says. What's their new approach, Kateline?
They're gonna let everybody have a parole hearing.
They're over 50. They've been in jail for more than 20 years. They're supposed to be up for parole in California, right?
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah, and nobody's talked about it on any of these docs, and I don't get it.
Huh. Kurt, you should write some letters.
Here's the deal. My first and foremost objective is to get to the bottom of the MurphDog mystery, okay? And actually, that reminds me of the episode we're doing today. We're going back to the vault. We haven't been to the vault in ages. The vault is when we pick an old Dateline that's a banger and we talk about it. And so that's what we're doing today. And this one, you know it, is hosted by MurphDog.
Here's Dennis Murphy.
And boy, there's some good MurphDog stuff in here, wasn't there? Wasn't there some great MurphDog stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Who what? KaTHUNK. KaTHUNK. I loved it.
KaTHUNK.
That's classic MurphDog. Okay, anyway, here we go. We are doing The Beauty and the Beast mystery, originally airing February 25th, 2011. IMDb description. Lisa and Scott Pattison marry on a fairy tale-like day and build a life together in central Indiana. But one day in July of 2009, their marriage comes to a horrifying end as Scott races his gravely injured wife to the hospital, calling 911. That's a pretty descriptive description.
That is very descriptive. I guess they had 13 years to come up with a very descriptive description.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, so let's get started. Overall, real quick, what did you think of this ep, Kateline?
I liked this ep. I was very glad that you picked it. I had not seen it.
Really?
I didn't remember it, at least, if I had.
Yeah. I didn't remember all the funny little shit about it. I remember the security cam, the weightlifting part of it.
A weight machine.
So you dug it. I mean, do you think this was an old Friday fatty that was reduced to shorty status for online?
Well, were the old seasons ever fatties, or were they all short?
Oh, like maybe they didn't start doing 2 hours until like 2015 or something?
Until true crime really blew up?
Perhaps. That's not bad, because before this, it was, I mean, this 2010, 2011, is that still Catch a Predator? I feel like that's what Dateline was known for in the late aughts. Is that true?
Yeah. That would have been Chris Hansen's heyday.
Yep.
Hey,
Well,
what are you doing here?
yeah. Look, that opens a perfect window for some more Arrested Development clips, because they've got a hilarious episode about To Catch a Predator stuff.
Looks like we got ourselves an ANUSTART. Is there a little girl here all by herself? Daddy needs to get his rocks off.
Yep. Kate gets it. Kate gets it. All right, so this story begins. Actually, it opens up on a wedding. Now, I had to look up I want to know the date. They didn't say the date. Murphdog ballparked it as over 10 years.
Last dance, still more than 10 years away.
August 1996. That's when this wedding is happening, okay? So that's 4 years after Beauty and the Beast got nominated for an Oscar and everything's blowing up. And you're thinking, Kurt, why are you bringing that up? That's because what was going on for their dance at their reception? Like their couple dance. What's it called? The first dance.
Their first dance. Yeah. What was his name again?
Scottt. Here's the thing. It's Scottt Pattison. Okay? Not Patterson or Peterson. All other murderers that we have talked about, I feel. Like, what is it with this kind of name? I couldn't believe it. Anyway, Scottt Pattison.
Scottt Pattison chose to wear a beast mask, like a Party City Halloween beast costume.
Yeah.
For his first dance at his wedding.
Yes.
But his wife wasn't wearing the yellow bell dress. She was just in her white wedding dress. So the theme got a little lost.
I want to know whose idea this was. It feels like Scott's.
Oh, yeah.
But
100%.
he's also wearing the gloves, too. Like, I don't know if he's wearing his tux over a beast costume. That'd be pretty funny if that were true. But it's not like he had this on the whole wedding. It's not like they're like the original Disney adults over here, right? Like, we just saw him at the reception table with it off.
I'm Scott Pattison. I'm the groom here.
But he comes out, and you're right in saying Party City, because it does not look like the Beast.
No.
It looks like, honestly, like
A werewolf.
I was just gonna say, yeah, werewolf, the one from the Little Red Riding Hood kind of vibe.
And the song, you could kind of hear it in the video. It didn't sound like it was the song they danced to in Beauty and the Beast. It sounded like Rihanna. Sorry. It sounded like Rihanna Umbrella.
Is that how you say it?
Rihanna.
Was that for real?
Mm-hmm. Everyone says it Rihanna, but it's Rihanna.
I didn't quite hear the song. I was just thinking about how sweaty he must have been in there. Because, I mean, tuxes are already a sweatbox for old Kurt Money. But you add in a f***ing Halloween mask, I'm toasted in there.
You really sweat.
Oh, I sure do. I sure do. Would you would party with a theme wedding, though, right? You'd party with perhaps a Star Trek thing or whatever. X-Files.
I always said that I wanted a Star Trek themed wedding, and I wanted it in Vegas, and I wanted an Elvis impersonator dressed in a Star Trek uniform to marry me.
Amazing. I love it. I've never seen an Elvis in Star Trek garb, so that rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would have been perfect back in the
love
day when the Star Trek experience was still up and running in Vegas. But that closed in like 2008 or something. Sad.
Did this happen at your wedding? Were you not able to do it for your wedding?
Our wedding was just a little courthouse thing, Kurt. Sign on the dotted line and go home.
All right, so things are good in 1996. Fast forward, July 2nd, 2009. This is when it all goes down. Scottt Pattison comes home to find Lisa is trapped under a barbell downstairs in the basement, and she is purple and by all accounts dead. She seems to have accidentally choked herself on a bench press that had like 2 safety mechanisms and all this stuff, but he finds her. So what's his first move? It's not to call 911.
His first move is to try to attempt CPR. According to him, this is what he did.
Yeah.
He tried to attempt CPR to see if he could revive her. He was a former first responder, so he knew CPR.
According to him, yeah.
Yes. And when that didn't work, he still didn't call 911. He picked up her body and put it in his truck and started driving to the hospital, and then called 911 and asked for an escort so that he could get there faster.
911, which emergency?
My wife has had an accident at home.
Yeah, you're right. He wanted an escort, but he did not want them to go to him to do CPR. Like, this is something that'll come up later, and we hear the 911.
Why don't you let me start an ambulance towards you, sir, if she needs CPR?
I've tried CPR. I'm an ex-first responder. I've tried this.
But he said it was because it would be quicker if he just started towards the hospital now. Then we see dash cam footage of the first responders catching up with him. So they started CPR anyway. So it was stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess, look, we'll just, no spoilers, okay? But I would say if you killed your wife and made it look like a workout accident, the good move is to remove the body from the scene of the crime, right? I mean,
yes,
that's clearly what I'm thinking he did it and why. It's like, well, how convenient. There's no crime scene now, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Okay, so
well, I mean, full spoilers. He killed her.
Yeah, he did.
I don't think we have to dance around that. And yes, Kurt, I knew the second the episode started because the very first picture they showed of him, did you see his eyebrows?
Oh, I sure did. But that's weird because the first picture I saw of him, I thought, wait, am I watching a documentary about Jean Claude Van Damme?
Yeah, maybe fat Jean Claude Van Damme.
I can't wait. Oh, I guess, do we talk about that now?
Yes.
Okay, because I need to...
Let's give some backstory into who Scott is.
Yes. So this is all set in Indiana, and actually they met at a dance club in Fort Wayne, which is the current Kurt Cave location. That's where I'm from, and that's where I am right now.
Have you been to that club?
Here's the deal. I assumed it was Pierre's, which is a big dance club with like 6 little clubs inside of it, and it had commercials for it all the time, me growing up. But I asked our resident hero, McClizu. He watched the app and said that was not Pierre's, okay? Then my mom said they could have been at Disco Larry's. And then that was a whole sidetrack where I had to know who the hell is Disco Larry and what are you talking about, my money? I never got to the bottom of that. So I guess we'll deal with that another time.
That's
some
unreliable information there.
Yeah. The same Mom Money that texted me that Taylor Swift was pregnant. And I was like, Mom Money, if T Swift was pregnant, I'd know before you.
I agree 100%.
Okay. Lisa goes out with her friends to a club in Fort Wayne, and also they showed one shot of B-roll that did have Pierre vibes, but that could have just been, I mean, this is a potential B-roll you busted, BYB, because that could just be any dance club they showed, right?
That's true.
So.
Just hit him with that Pond 5 clip.
Yep.
No one lives in Fort Wayne. Who's gonna know?
Yeah.
Kurt Money knows.
That's right, busted. But sadly, that's where the Fort Wayne stuff ends. When they get together, they move to central Indiana, which I know nothing about. But the Jean Claude Van Damme thing. Lisa goes out with her girlfriends to this club in Fort Wayne. A guy is hitting on her, slips her his business card. When Lisa and her friends leave, she takes out the business card, and it says Jean Claude Van Damme lookalike. And Lisa's sister said the correct thing. You're not going to call him, right? Right? Isn't that what you were thinking, Kate? Would you ever?
Yes.
It said Jean Claude Van Damme lookalike. And
You're kidding.
No. And I said, you're not going to call that guy, are you?
But she'd remembered him, hadn't she?
Yes.
Okay, give me your lowdown on celebrity lookalikes, because I've got a take. Okay, they weird me out a little, but I want to hear what you think.
Like
celebrity lookalikes.
Professional celebrity lookalikes?
Yeah, sure.
I don't really get the point. You're not them.
You just you get hired to go to parties and pretend you're them.
But everyone knows you're not them. So what are you doing?
I don't.
Also, if we lose some fans here, I'm sorry, but I don't care about Jean Claude Van Damme.
Well, you've lost one fan, and his name is Kurt Money, because I love JCVD. What's your problem with him? What's your problem?
What do you love about him? Is it the bad acting?
Mr. California, Mr. Silk Underwear.
Is it
the splits and the kicks?
Poor caliber of the film choices that he makes? You like how bad it is? Are you one of those guys that loves watching the room and throwing your spoons because you think,
no,
haha, it's so shitty, it's fun.
Well, look, he was an action star in my formative days.
Well, I'd call it primitive.
I love him for his accent.
Mr. Silk Underwear.
He's a very genuine guy, too. Whether that means that he's super passionate about cocaine, or his wife, or being in a movie, like, it's all him all the time, and he loves it. And I just, have you ever seen Double Impact? Where he plays twins, Kate. So he's got a double workload in that ep. That is some top. That's a fun time.
You know, I might have skipped that one.
You might have. Anyway, JCVD rules. Celebrity lookalikes. I don't care for them. They weird me out. It's one thing, all of them also, their job started because a lot of their friends said, hey, you kind of look like this one guy. Like, you kind of look like Jean Claude Van Damme. But the second you pop it on a business card and charge, the scrutiny's much tighter, and he don't look a goddamn thing like JCVD.
No.
Okay? What, he has blue eyes? Cool. But
Scottt looked like maybe in his youth he could have looked more like him, but as soon as we meet him, he is swollen.
Yes, which the real JCVD has never been. He has been tight as a tiger since day one.
Yes, and that was actually a big part of Scottt and Lisa's relationship, was working out and staying fit, and they made certain of that. They made a whole deal of that in the episode to talk about how she really wanted to stay in shape to keep up with him. And then we see a shot of him in his swim trunks, and dude's not in shape. Not at all. He's got a paunch, and he's got these like flabby love handles. And look, I don't care when it comes to bodies, but don't act like you're this stud who's cut and then pressure your girl to look that way too. And by all accounts, she looked very fit, and he was the one who was like not holding his end of the bargain.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. His body at the pool reminds me of pictures of Arnold Schwarzenegger now.
Yes.
When he's on like a boat.
Yep. Because that's what happens after you're juicing and you're working out too much and you get all buff. Then that weird stomach protrusion thing happens where...
Yes, happens.
It happened to Tom Cruise too.
Well...
Where like the upper part of the chest kind of goes out and... It looks painful, like your sternum is pronounced or something.
It clearly is a thing that happens to dudes when they get older, because Tom Cruise has it, but he has the best version of it, I think. Like, that's the best way you could look, I feel. Because doesn't it happen to a lot of dudes?
It does.
It's a thing.
It happens right around 55.
Okay.
And except for Brad Pitt, who it still has not happened for him, and he's in his 60s.
He still looks...
When he popped that top off in the roof... on the roof scene in Once Upon a Time, I...
Say no more. Keep talking.
There were gasps in the theater, but I'm all for a little thickness, but don't try to act like you're Brad Pitt when you're Arnold.
That's true. Or even like Jean Claude Van Damme. I can't. This guy was failing on all the things he was promising up top.
Scottt liked that people thought of him as a good time guy. Mr. Big.
I had a real red flag on this guy from the jump because of all this weird stuff. But anyway, they get married in 96. Fast forward to this 2009, the morning she's there on the bench.
Signs were pointing towards an awful accident.
Scottt agrees to go down and talk to the police at the station. And this is where we get his side of the story, where he says, like, I came home at 11:30 a.m. I hear music downstairs. I think she's just working out. Then I go down there and find her body, and then all this happened. And the cops are like, okay, thank you. Let's go back to your house, see what's cooking there. Cops go to his house, and this is where the medical examiner says, like, they have to give, like, the initial report to decide whether or not the cops are going to come out to investigate a murder. And this was called unattended. You know how, like, it's homicide, accidental.
Her death was categorized as unattended.
I've never heard unattended as one of the ways. Have you?
It's weird that it would be different from accidental.
Yeah. I think MurphDOG described it as being what they put down until the cops look at it and decide if it's a crime or not.
Why do they have to put down anything?
Good cue. But the cops are, at this point, his story's kind of checking out a little bit. But the cops are a little bit suspicious, and so, of course, they're doing their thing. They're talking to the family. And actually, even Scott admits in the interrogation, how's their marriage going at the moment?
Well, not great. They were heading towards divorce. Recently, they had kind of reconciled a little, or were trying to make it work, but it was not going well. But they were still living together.
Yeah, he had cheated. She found out, and they were working on it, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
But he does a classic thing in the interrogation when they said, how's your marriage? And he's like...
No marriage is perfect.
Yeah. And the lady was like, okay, that's you saying it, dude. I don't know. Like, he was really hoping for some support in the room, and I don't think he got it.
No.
Is there ever a perfect marriage?
Well, I don't know.
So the cops are a little bit suspicious of Scott. And we talked to the detectives in here, and they... Boy, did you feel for them with all the stuff with the weight machine with MurphDog? I mean, that was a classic thing for MurphDog to over-answer and over-ask. And MurphDog around this bench press machine was cracking me up.
You mean the one where they actually went to show him the bench in person?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like half the episode is him trying to talk about, like, walking around the weight bench and trying to get specifics, like... She was probably dead in 30 seconds, right? And they're like, well, we don't want to speculate. Stop asking. But she died quickly, MurphDog. She died quickly.
Yeah, he was... I don't know that he was on one again, but he was doing his thing, for sure. And I wonder if it was at his request that they go look at that bench in person.
Totally.
You're in a very bad way. You're in a bad situation. Dead within 30 seconds, would you guess? Or at least unconscious within 30 seconds?
I don't want to speculate, but I don't think it'd take very long.
But they clearly rented one for this Dateline and put it in a courtroom because they've got the shots to back it up.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. So the cops talk to Lisa's family members, and that's when they find out more about this marriage, and also very specifically what had just transpired not a week or two before this death. Lisa was making a change.
Lisa was making a change to that life insurance policy. It was supposed to be split between Scott and her son from a previous relationship. And she changed it so that it would go 100% to her son. And she had it all set up, and all she needed to do was sign it. But that didn't happen in time.
No, and somehow Scott finds out about it, and he calls her sister to ask questions. Like, has it gone through yet? Like a week or two before the death. So...
Shady.
I mean, that's pretty suspicious. Yes. So, and also, they have 2 security cameras at their house. At Scott and Lisa's house, there are 2 security cameras. But on the first day when the death happens and they're looking around, they see the 2 cameras, and then they find the player, but it's a DVD player, and they pop out the tray, and there's no disc in there. And so they were bummed, and they moved on. This was... Well, okay, we'll save it until that is solved. But this was raising flags for me where I was going, I got a lot more questions about this player right now, guys.
The DVD tray was empty.
We didn't get lucky here.
Didn't get lucky.
Did that jump out at you or no?
No, it didn't.
Okay, I'm trying to think of how to say it so it's not super boring. Anyway, I'll save that till later. Okay, so a few weeks after the murder, the cops are wanting to call this a murder, but they don't. It's not like they have any security cam footage or any eyewitness testimony. It's all circumstantial stuff. And then they get a call from a guy in town who runs like a home security system store.
He told the detective that one of his salesmen had just gotten off the phone with a customer who'd had some questions about how his home video surveillance system worked. The customer was Scott Pattison. Did the cops want to know something more about all of this?
And this was wild. And of course, the detectives want to hear it. Before we get to that reveal, what could Scott have possibly said that made the manager call the cops on him? If he sold him the security system.
He was probably asking, how do I get rid of all of the information on the backup hard drive?
Right.
And the guy's like, why would you want to do that? Because it just records over it. It's not like you have to go in and delete it. So why would you ever need to?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what it is. And he's thinking, his wife died.
Yeah. I wonder if because it was probably in the news and stuff.
Yeah.
So once he hears Scott Pattison, he's probably like, oh, this guy's wife died recently, and he's asking questions about his security camera. I mean, thank God he did. Because the calls the cops up, and the cops are like, oh, yeah, we would love if you could tell us stuff, but there was no disc in the tray, so we walked away forever. And that's when the guy got to go, hey, dum-dums, it records to a hard drive. It's still in there. It doesn't go to the disc. And the cops are stoked.
Stoked.
Right.
They rush over there.
And my mouth just kind of opened up.
A hard drive.
And sure enough, there's footage on there. Now, I was confused at the idea that a security camera recorded straight to a DVD. I mean, look, it was possible. And there was a time back in the day where you could get a DVD-R or DVD-RW, rewritable.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, it could work, but you would have to change the disc every day or just record over that one disc, if that. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff with that where I'm going, there's probably a hard drive here. Anyway,
well,
point is, the cops are what was that?
We have a security system here that runs on disc.
On DVD?
Yeah.
It records to a DVD.
Yep.
How f***ing old is this system?
Old. Probably 20 years old.
And does it rewrite it every day?
Theoretically, there's no disc in it.
So why do you have it? It's out of service, huh?
Listen, you ask my landlord. I don't own this place.
Oh, I see. I got it. Could you guys have this situation on your hands?
No, just damage to some cars parked out front.
Okay. Maybe it's the landlord and he's not telling you about those hard drives and he's laughing his ass off. Could be.
Why?
He could be out there busting tires and stuff.
Why would he do that?
Huh? To watch the world burn or something.
Okay.
So tell us about this security footage, because according to Scott, he left super early and got back at 11:30 a.m. and then it all went down. But what does the security footage reveal?
Well, it only reveals part of his story. We see him get up early in the morning and leave to go to a job site, and then we see him a little later meeting with his nephew, was it? Or no, with his
stepson.
His stepson. That all checks out according to his timeline. But then he doesn't come back at 11:30. He comes back at like 9:30 or 10.
8:30, Kateline.
8:30. Okay.
4 hours earlier than what he said.
8:32 a.m.
Not 11:30, 8:32 a.m.
And he doesn't walk right in front of the camera. He just walks right to the side of it, but you can see him in the corner of the shot. And then
that was a great MurphDog moment, because he's like, "That head, whose head is that?" And the cop is like, "Well, it's the guy we've been talking about, dude.
Scott's
Scott
head.
Pattison. It's Mr. Pattison. It's Scott. You sure about that? Are you absolutely positive?" "Yes, MurphDog."
Who's the head?
That was Mr. Pattison, Scott Pattison.
No question.
No question at all.
And the time was what?
Next, we see him come back outside wearing a different outfit.
Yeah, one of three. We see 3 different outfits on this guy, and one of which, the middle one, is like a workout outfit or something.
I think we can say that's probably the outfit he was wearing when he did the murder, because
Absolutely. Then hey, let's get a husband and wife workout session.
Then he changes again to make it look like it matches with his story that he just got home and found her. So we see all of that on the camera. Several outfit changes, and then finally we see him leave with her, and that's when he made the 911 call. He's not leaving very quickly, is he?
No. And he lived at this house. He no doubt got those security cams installed. I guess I'm wondering how it could be so stupid. What do you think?
He is a Jean Claude Van Damme impersonator, and you're wondering how he could be so stupid.
You shut up.
So he's all over this footage. His alibi's out the window. So let's talk about the death scene. The detectives are thinking that, well, if it dropped and it fell really hard, it could have snapped her neck. And that could have been an accident. And that's when MurphDog says, KaTHUNK. Loved it.
This will fall down like a guillotine.
KaTHUNK.
Yes.
But then it goes to the forensic pathologist, and we find out that it was like a slow and steady death, as if someone was pinning her down, sitting on top of her chest, and like pushing the bar into her neck.
Yeah, like
right?
a suffocation.
And they were talking about little dots around the eyes that were all the way down to her back, Kate. Now, what word was it? And what were you thinking about?
It's petechia, which happens when you get suffocated.
Woo! Petechiae.
And this was the first time they were bringing it up on Dateline, because they had to tell us all about what it is and what it means, like they had never explained it before.
That minute bruising with a funny name, the petechiae.
But for us, it's old hat, because our Patreon, which just launched today, by the way, day of this recording, it launched. And the very first episode, which is free to everybody, we talk about our forensic files, and petechiae plays a huge part in that case. So, we're like petechiae experts over here.
Yeah, yep.
When they were talking about that and showing it spelled out, I was like, MurphDog, you don't need to bother, dude. We got this.
No, we got this. We got this. So they said the fact that it was down her back, it was evidence that someone had been straddling her on top of her, holding the bar to her neck, like classic suffocation. Because when MurphDog goes in with the detective and looks at this bench and bar situation, the system, like you said, has all these safety mechanisms on it. And it's basically impossible to die because all you have to do if the weight gets too heavy is rotate your wrist back a tiny bit and the safety gauge will catch it and you can slip out easily. And they even did a demonstration of if it doesn't catch, can you still slip out from under it? And this guy who's way bigger than her was easily able to slip out, and she's tinier, so it would be easier for her.
It was definitely easy to get out. It wasn't easy enough because Kurt Money was kind of chuckling. This guy having to do it on camera. It's like, it'd be this easy. And he's like,
well, he's big.
Anyway.
He's big.
Could you wriggle out from under there?
Yes, I could. You do it like this.
Okay, so that sounds like Scott's killing her, pressing that bar down. But then you talk to her friends at the mall and her family members, and Lisa was not a bench press user.
No.
That's not how she worked out.
She was a runner.
She was right, yeah.
Lisa was a treadmill girl.
She was all about cardio, and when they heard the bench and the weight, they were like, no, she doesn't do that. He killed her.
Yeah, because, the idea that she would do bench press by herself for the first time and have enough weight on there that she could get slowly choked out, that's absurd.
Yeah. And they did find, when they examined it, they did find that the safety mechanism had been disengaged. And
one of two, yes.
Yeah. I don't think she would have done that. He did it so that it made killing her easier.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
In September 2009, Scott Pattison was indicted for murder.
October 2010, this baby goes to trial. And it's at the trial where we meet another player in this, former mayor somewhere nearby, and that's Scott's mistress.
Yeah.
Now, tell us, Texpert. I mean, they gave us some numbers. What'd you think about their communication? What was suspicious? What'd you think?
They said it was 130-something texts. Was it on the day of the murder?
That would be the only acceptable one, I think, right? Because even that's not a whole hell of a lot.
The logs reveal that on July 2nd, the day of Lisa's death, no fewer than 130 text messages.
On the day, he had sent her one text message during the time of when he was racing to the hospital, and it was a 3-letter text.
Yeah, they love this.
And what did it say, Kurt?
911.
911.
Which one do you think he did first? Did he call 911 first, or did he text that to his lover?
I think he would have had to text it first, because if he was driving while on the phone with 911, it would have been very hard to then also text.
Wow, so he texted his mistress first.
Just to be like, hey, I can't talk.
Yeah, don't be hitting me up, okay? I'm really busy.
To me, that was huge that, here he is driving his wife to the hospital, but he's got the state of mind to think about his girlfriend and send her a text message.
I mean, this is sinking him straight away, but of course, Scott says, no, I am innocent.
Mm-hmm.
What's their defense? One of their moves is to say, hey, where's the signs of struggling? There's no scratches. Where are they? And it's like, dude, you were sitting on her chest and pinning her legs down. That's why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't understand their defense there.
Yeah, I'm sure she grabbed the bar. She wasn't scratching at him because she needed to use all of her force to hold the bar up against him. So there wasn't going to be any signs of struggle on him.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, here's how I think it happened. He was like, here, let me show you something. I'm going to show you a move. Mm-hmm. Stepped over her and then suddenly sat down and did it. I mean, I feel like that's exactly how it went down. They bring the bench into court, and the jurors did their own experiment.
One of the female jurors agreed to play Lisa.
I thought this was illegal as hell, Kateline. Help me out here.
This is what united them. They were kind of half and half. They were split. And after this little experiment, they reached a verdict.
They find him guilty, and he gets, 25 years to life or 60 years? He's in there for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The judge cited unusual harm to Lisa's son, Dylan, in giving Scott an enhanced sentence of 60 years.
But there have been other cases. Did it happen in OJ? There's been cases where juries do their own experiments, And it's like grounds for a mistrial because you need to recreate it exactly as it happened. So I could see Scott trying an appeal where they say like this wasn't lawful because it wasn't the exact same conditions. You don't know how long she was benching before it happened or whatever. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I'm shocked that they were allowed to do this and that they talk about it openly. I guess because it happened in front of the judge, because it's not like they did it on their own in the hotel room workout center. Like it was on the machine in the courtroom.
The judge...
That still feels like shaky ground.
The judge may have said, I don't know, this is kind of shaky, but we all have to remember his eyebrows and how he waxed them to high hell.
Yeah, they were sharp.
He's guilty. And then his appellate lawyer is like, yeah, I can't really help you, Scott. Look at your eyebrows.
Yeah. Damn these eyebrows. Why do I continue to wax them? So the mistress was there to testify, and she's like, yeah, we were in love. And she's a former mayor.
The former chief of staff to the mayor of Marion, Indiana.
Now, she was given immunity. What the for? What for?
For being a mayor.
But seriously, like, she is not involved. She just slept with the guy. So why the immunity? I don't get it.
She had a good lawyer who negotiated that up front before she even went in to talk to them, I bet. Which is what Cateline would do.
Yeah, boom. I mean, what she wants to avoid is a Michelle Draconis situation where the guy kills himself and the murder's on her now. Man, I'm so stoked I pulled that name, Kate.
Impressive.
I pulled it. So this guy's guilty. And wait, I loved when he was leaving the courthouse. Do you remember this? The courts, they're like, are you going to appeal? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? And Scott says this line and trips over it insanely. Okay? And it's hilarious. What he says is, a wise man needs to know to keep his mouth shut. And he can't even get that out.
Nope.
He trips over it straight away.
He's very dumb. He's very dumb.
Oh.
Scott, do you have anything to say?
Wise man needs to know to keep his mouth shut. So that's what I'm going to do.
One of the talking heads was the son, and he was talking about how it was a bummer to get raised by this guy. The weird thing is he kept calling him a fatherly figure.
Growing up, I didn't really have a fatherly figure.
It's just father figure, right?
Yes.
Was that weird to you?
No, he's young.
I always wanted like a better fatherly figure.
Yeah, and he had to go out in his underwear to get the mail. Like he had weird stuff.
Yes,
that Scott would make him do.
Scott would do basically humiliation tests on him. And it sounded like he suffered a lot of abuse at the hands of Scott. So he's not mourning this. He's mourning the loss of his mother, but not the loss of his father figure.
Yeah, I mean, thank God he's not like on his side, right? I mean, we see that all the time.
We do.
Like he's old enough to be with it because he worked with him that morning too.
Yeah.
Like he was part of that construction crew. Before we go to the list, Kate, there was a moment where it's primo MurphDog, and in his mind, this is him hitting a grand slam and him in his element, and that's making Richard Nixon references. What do you think? And look, the guy he said it to laughed his ass off, okay? So it worked. It worked.
Okay.
But the confidence of which he set up a Nixon reference to Watergate, I was like, oh, this is the good stuff. Huh?
Classic Murph.
You know, as a lot of people look at this case, they ask themselves the question they might have asked of Richard Nixon. Why didn't you destroy the tapes?
There's no way he'd do that today. What do you think?
He might.
He probably still would.
Yeah.
He wouldn't get that laugh, though.
No, because whoever he was interviewing today probably wouldn't have any idea what he was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I believe it's list time. Cateline, you got anything for us?
Kate's unnamed list is empty.
Really? Nothing?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, that means it's on to Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
Kick-Ass List.
I have one item. I only have one today, but it is such a banger. And it's a MurphDog related banger, too. So it's good that here we are to celebrate MurphDog and to ask where the hell is he? 236 days and counting. And he gave us, makes your nose twitch a little, doesn't it? Makes your nose twitch a little. Classic MurphDog line.
It's great.
Some things make your nose twitch. Yes.
My God, when he said that, I was like, I mean, it was so glorious, and everything was telling me this was the right episode to pick. It was like the Beauty and the Beast thing, the JCVD thing, and then the nose twitch, and I was like, it's on. Cateline, this is the app we're doing. We got to do it. We got to do it.
And Fort Wayne.
Oh, yeah. And Fort Wayne. We almost had a sign to Strug on our hands, and I wrote down, this is what he said. Nothing to suggest a struggle. Ooh, that's close.
Close.
Nothing to suggest a struggle.
But I got that nose twitch, and that felt so good. All right, well, that does it for our first From the Vault in a long time. Definitely the first one of season 2 of ILH. Did we miss anything?
Nope.
Sweet. All right, well, be sure to check out our YouTube at I'm Lester Holt. And in bigger and better news, we got a whole other show cooking, Holt heads. If you go over to the Patreon, we're covering something that's Dateline adjacent. Twice a month, okay? If it's a show or movie about a crime that could be featured on Dateline, or it inspired a show or movie, that's fair game for us to talk about. Does that sum it up?
Yeah. Anything in the realm of Dateline and true crime.
Yeah, and we've got 2 episodes up now.
It's ILH, where true crime and comedy are on the same shelf.
I feel so good about that line, but I worry it doesn't explain the premise. This might be an off-mic conversation. What do you think, Kate?
Listen.
What?
I don't know. Listen. I don't know.
Oh. Okay. You heard it here first, folks. Listen. I'm Kurt Money.
I'm Kateline.
I'm Lester Holt. For all of us, I'm Lester Holt. Good night.
KaTHUNK.